All right. Well, good evening, everybody. We should get started momentarily, but for now, we are doing some good old prep on this end in order to make sure everything is set up correctly, and we're good to go on that end. So just give me a moment, and we should be good to start on this briefing. All right, looks like we are about to start.
All right, gentlemen. I know we're a little bit lean today, but I figure that this should be a good chance for everybody to kind of see the plan that we have unfolding before us. I have no idea how long we've been on this damn planet. I've lost track of the amount of, well, entire cycles that this planet has done. I really do wish the Inquisition had told me that its day and night cycles were so erratic. Nonetheless, we're going back after the same three, or should I say, same two objectives that we were shooting for last week. Objective Mojito and Objective Irish Coffee are still in the battle plan that we have. Additionally, I've added Objective Mint Julep, located to the north of the former Objective Bloody Mary, and a separate POI that I suspect is actually a stronghold for the enemy that I'm sending my own sons to go after. As I'm sure all of you have already read in the op order that I put out earlier this week, Total War is now in effect, and I have authorized a desolation protocol for all objectives if they are seen to be completely uncapturable. I do not want us being static in any one location all the way to our detriment. If you cannot capture a location, it is better for you just to deny it to the enemy and move on to the next location. There is nothing on this planet that cannot be rebuilt. It's entirely infested with chaotic and traitorous forces. There is no reason to keep anything that we cannot just rebuild ourselves. Now, Colonel Owen, which location were you suspecting on attacking first?
With the previous
Of the three.
This one here up in the north, we are going to initially bombard, then have infantry move in to clear out what's left. That's at least the initial part. While your sons attack Legion's POI. With this, we should have the northern section of the sectioned off map cleared. There are enemies down to the south in this valley, though we did bombard them heavily. It is unknown at this time whether they have survived or not. I have advised members underneath me that as during transit, if they do see enemies, call it out and have artillery bombard.
Okay. Be advised, if you're going to go north and south, Objective Mojito is 100% a fatal funnel.
Yes.
So, I direct your attention to the monitor up there. I have no idea what just happened. There you go. So, Objective Mint Julep does have actual elevated areas that separate the two towns, as well as, yeah, looks like somebody has already put down signature for mines. There is a mined area between the actual two towns. I suspect that's roughly in this location here, or just along the road here. I know the map doesn't actually show that. I tried. Additionally, pick sensors didn't actually show them, but there is likely going to be entrenchments in both ingress points to this urbanized area. So expect as you're moving from Astoria and Urania over to the new objective area, that you're going to come under concealed and entrenched fire. I have no idea if indirect fires are going to actually be able to take them out or not. So it will behoove everybody to make sure that you are keeping a sharp eye out for anything that could endanger the cohesion of any element. I would recommend making sure the order is put out that anybody that is that suspects that something may be out of place or is a trap of some sort, just open fire. Shoot first, ask questions later. I'm not expecting anybody this week to come home with HVTs. We'll save that for when we invade or besiege Concretum City itself. For the time being, everything is open season. Additionally, going down to Objective Mojito itself. Maybe? There we go. Objective Mojito is a fatal funnel in its entirety. All the refinery areas, the entire industrial sector is in between two very large and very easily defendable cliff sides that make any entry through that area absolutely impassable and absolutely okay. Then whoever's putting that there, you're already suspecting that there is heavy entrenchments. Yeah. Okay.
The yellow lines I placed are tunnels that go straight through the mountain. So there are tunnels that go in through the mountainside, through the ridges. There's also tunnels that go this way as well. And
is there a tunnel? Is there entry to the tunnels, or is that just from one side to the other?
Entry and exit, singular tunnel all the way straight through with an internal location that could be used to house command elements or ammunition.
Is there a exit point to this tunnel here?
At the end, as per the lines, it goes. You can travel in from the front and at the back, or travel in from the back and out the front. Because of course, there's a chance that when we're moving up through the funnel, that units could pop out while we're trying to besiege the area at the enemy infantry known position.
Okay. With that information,
that is accurate.
That further means that whenever we get there, whatever we move through, expect essentially ambushes from the left and right as well as from the top. Additionally, yes.
My plan was not to go through Death Valley.
Cool. That's a great idea.
My plan was to go over one or both of the hills. Now that I know that there are mines off to the eastern side, I'm just going to bombard that place with artillery. Movement from the west down south to Objective Mojito. After we crest the hill, we can get eyes on with hopefully Velity's assistance. We can get a rough guess and movement of the enemies. We'll then hit them hard. I'll have Velity work with both Mechanicus and the Adeptus Astartes to literally make them non-existent. By the time infantry and armor get there, there should be less resistance.
Colonel, may I make an intel unknown from last objective?
Go for it.
In known area, in this sector here, in the infantry known area where there's a minefield, there was in fact a large amount of bunkers that Legion assaulted and dealt with, though the chance of them being reinforced is still possible. So from at around Hill 123 there's a possibility there is approximately 5 to 7 bunkers pointed towards that objective where the main area where we are mainly approaching from. So be aware of that. The other thing is that hill up there, Legion did cause some damage to the area by attacking the choke point while we were engaging in the attack on the city initially, and that was just to cause a little bit of problems for them.
I do see orcs to our south. Question for the Inquisition.
Go ahead.
Is there a way of burning them out
It is
so
unlikely.
they don't come back again?
Orcoid meteors continue to fall on the planet. It is unlikely that we will be able to effectively burn them out within a reasonable amount of time. It is unlikely at this time, as Orcoid meteors continue to fall on the planet. Burning them out in the near future seems unfeasible.
Understood.
Forgot I had to have push to talk. My bad.
That's all from me.
I've requested from the Mechanicus the deployment of the entire Lance of Knights that we have under our purview, as well as the deployment of our Warhound Titan. All will be on the field. They will be keeping one of the knights to the rear to defend our forward operating base. Therefore, bolstering the main effort will be 2 knights and a Warhound Titan. The Titan will likely just maintain distance fire, as maneuvering through the terrain that you guys see before you does make it a little bit difficult for it to actually maintain a beat on any sort of area. However, it has a fairly decent commanding presence over the battlefield and can see incredibly far distances. I would not suspect it would have much trouble trying to support by fire anybody that calls. The knights, on the other hand, should be able to fairly easily maneuver throughout the entire battlefield. So if you need to split forces to try to surround the enemy, as long as you can make sure that they are free from consistent fire on them, they can usually do pretty well at helping forces move forward from an area and keep themselves from getting lodged in any sort of unfavorable circumstances.
I shall be right back. We have a guest.
User left your channel.
Lord Primarch, would you like the Inquisition's portion of this brief at this time?
Yes, please.
Marked on map, as you can see, I have taken the liberty to begin marking things in red and in green. The green areas represent minefields. You will notice that there are 2 primarily to the south. There is also 1 to the north, within the avenue of approach of objective Mint Julep. The red markings indicate a support by fire and attack by fire, respectively, depending on where you will be attacking and the main effort. Note that the unit has yet to actually destroy the enemy elements in Concretum City. There will still be enemies in Concretum City proper, and you will still take fire from those elements. To your south, yes, you can see these hilltops near Refinery 02 Bravo. This is the fatal funnel and series of valleys that were mentioned. The pole mark also mentioned the tunnels there. Due to the terrain, indirect fire is going to have a reduced effect on the enemies at that location. They have bunkers, they have underground facilities, and we know for a fact that they have hardened structures there that will provide cover to their elements within that location. Remember that our objectives are not necessarily theirs. Objective Mojito may be Blue 4's objective, but that may not be the objective that they are trying to hold, and for whatever reason that may be. Inquisitorial scans would indicate that Refinery 02 Bravo, likely due to its tunnel network and defensive position, has become a location for hostile forces to aggregate supplies due to the restricting supply lines as Blue 4 continues to advance. Legion elements are deploying north of this POI on the west side of the map. Do note that that is behind enemy lines, that the north of that location is not secured, and that enemies may very well encircle Legion elements there. Hostile forces will continue to have air assets, and airborne threats remain a possibility. Anywhere on map that you see a heavy weapons team indicated, those indicate either known turret locations or bunkers. The majority of these are bunkers. Hydras, marked on map, are not necessarily Hydras, but they are known anti-air assets. We do not know that the enemy have Traitor Astartes in the southwest at Objective Irish Coffee, but it is assessed due to our assessment of that being the Airborne Brigade headquarters location. You can expect Red Air during this operation, you can expect enemy airborne assets, and there will be several entrenchments and fortified positions that the enemy is going to use. They're not fighting a symmetrical war at this point. They are outnumbered, they are outgunned, they are aware of that, and so they will begin resorting to asymmetric tactics. I must highly emphasize that if Refinery 02 Bravo is left to only be shelled and not cleared, elements there that have whatever stockpile of equipment may become problematic for Blue 4 elements in follow-on missions, as you will have asymmetric threats in your back line. The proximity to your southern fob is the primary concern for this, as it is possible that they send forces to harass or, if given the opportunity, seize the southern fob. Additionally, the hills in vicinity of that valley have observation and fields of fire for the majority of Concretum City, meaning that any Blue 4 elements taking avenues of approach in or around that city are likely to receive fire from there. I would caution the initial attack on Objective Mint Julep, because that is pushing into another salient, as the previous objective near the cities of Astoria and Urania were, where the Blue 4 elements were receiving fire from 3 directions. You will be pushing into an encirclement, and you will be taking fire from multiple sides, where cover and concealment will be heavily restricted. That is all that I have at this time, Primarch.
Thus, I also agree. Colonel Owen, Captain Lothlow, I recommend that you actually go towards the southern objectives and circle back towards Mint Julep. Legion can redeploy if they need to. I will say that initially, Hallmark, I'm not going to authorize the use of all of your assets at once. So I do not recommend that you take Terminators into the POI location. You can deploy the Dreadnought if you wish. It can get itself out pretty quickly if it needs to. I just don't want to commit all of your special assets right away. Especially since we're saying that if you deem it necessary, we can just eliminate it.
So, I'm going to turn him down for a moment. The concern for those watching, or who may watch this in the future, is that last time the unit pushed into this AO, and this is all they were able to destroy. They didn't seize it. They actually destroyed this location, which is no longer providing benefit to the actual unit in their further operations. The concern with that, right, is this is incredibly similar to this. And if the unit continues to push into this super thin area, they're going to be completely surrounded by enemy forces, and it's very likely that they will lose ground and take an unnecessary amount of casualties. I think it would be better to push lines this way in order to help expand this front line. And it's more so to prevent this from being a salient, so that they don't have that encirclement that they're at risk of nonstop. This is going to be a fight. This is going to be a hard fight. But the backside of this is basically flat, rolling hills. There's a couple, what would you call them? In this case, they would be spurs coming off of the hillsides here, but they create slight depressions where you might not see a unit 100 meters in front of you, but you would see a unit 300 meters in front of you. and it's kind of a watchboard in that regard, where it's a series of those. But by taking this, they deny a lot of the enemy's air assets and air support as well. So it is something to consider. But I'm gonna go ahead and give them back the sound so you guys can hear them now.
Whirlwinds acts as assistance against assisting Ballisteria as a widespread indirect fire unit. We'll also be fielding a cap and cast based aircraft, the Nephilim Starfighter and the Xiphon cap variant of for dealing with air superiority and cast calls. Additionally, we've requested the assistance of two of our brother legions, the Salamanders and the Shells of Baal, in hope that they will send a small amount of assistance. So Legion hopefully will be quite supplied in terms of manpower and heavy assets. And
Indeed, I'll be following up with them later on this week on what their number, or later on today about what their numbers are going to be.
And while we will field a dreadnought ourselves, if one Marius turns up, then he'll be given the right to field the second dreadnought we have available. Or I believe he'll be very useful in the upcoming battles.
I've also requested additional support from the Terminators. You should have 7 total Terminators to pull from.
Perfect.
How are you today?
We'll be able to.
Welcome to the video here, the stream.
A Terminator squad. The second that we deem it necessary, probably once we've dealt with our Legion POI Exodus, and have started our push down towards Mojito and
I'm all right, thank you.
Irish Coffee.
Just doing some mission preparation. We do
empty.
We're doing a pretty extensive Arma campaign that I'm running for this unit. So this is just some military planning side of it. But some people have interest in watching these, so showing it.
If you're moving down to, if you're going to make that move, make sure that you hit Refinery 3-1. Just to make sure that we clear out those entrenchment areas.
Access supplies, and what seems to be some sort of communication towers as well.
Yes. Colonel Owen.
What are you up to today?
Was there any objection to my adjustment to your plan?
Negative at this time, though I would like to keep the initial bombardment on Mint Tulip as is.
That is fine.
That's the only thing.
If necessary, you can draft the Legion Whirlwind Squad to deal with objectives.
Hey, if nothing else, happy Friday.
Widespread cluster munitions that can deal with widespread chaos, should we say, and allow for the Ballisteria and their precision airstrikes, or precision indirect fire, should we say, to assist infantry in their movements.
Finally, Captain Firefly.
Yes, my Primarch.
I know that you're speaking on behalf of Mechanicus and your own forces. Would you like to fill us in on any of your adjustments to your plans, or anything in particular that you wish to speak on their behalf for?
Hey, nonetheless, happy weekend.
As was outlined in the previous strategy, Mechanicus will primarily be focusing on fire support, both in the form of the Night Lance as well as artillery. On top of that, the Air Corps itself will heavily lean towards cap operations for this, to keep enemy air assets from harassing our units.
Very well. Be advised that the enemy anti-air capabilities are primarily located behind a large hillside, should I say, almost cliff.
If you're interested
so you may
in
not see
seeing
them
the
until it's
actual
already too late.
Operation,
make sure that
for this, so what it looks like on ground in Arma, I stream that at, it'll be 1700 Eastern Standard.
Thanks to your own machinations. Additionally, Concretum City is still off limits, and we will still continuously get fire from there, whether it is direct or indirect. Make sure that as you're nearing towards the center of the battle zone, that you're wary that things are still alive on that portion of the map and will attack us regardless. Just be careful.
Lord Primarch, if I may.
Yes.
What are the ROEs for hostile forces in Concretum?
PID before you fire. Ensure you're not firing on a location that could be a stronghold for the enemy headquarters unit, though anything that's on the edge of the city should not be.
And for counter battery?
Counter battery can be anywhere except for Concretum City. I will not authorize that at this time. If Firefly and his pilots can actually properly identify a indirect fires nest of some sort, be it mortar or be it basilisk or whatever anti fires that they may have, they can take it out with a precision strike, but only if they can properly identify it and ensure that it is not going to harm any buildings around it. That is the only thing that I will authorize. Understand this, everybody. The goal of this operation for this particular planet, since we have not been able to recover any HVTs or intel since we've been on the planet, we need to force the enemy to either be in such a weakened state where we can go in and recover whatever HVTs we desire and intel that we desire, or in the incredibly unlikely scenario, force a surrender from the enemy. That is my goal. That is my intent. We will starve Concretum City to do this. Thus, we must not endanger anything in that city until we can actually put boots on the ground and clear it out, while doubly ensuring that they will not be able to escape from the city. Is that understood?
Bristol.
Understood, Lord Primarch.
Okay. Are there any last minute questions?
I have potentially one question.
Yes, Sergeant Major, go ahead.
So, correct me if I'm wrong. We're attacking Mint first.
Negative.
No,
Yeah?
negative.
we're
No
going
longer.
Straight down to Mojito. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the new goal is to go to Mojito, Irish Coffee, and then circle back to Mint Julep.
So we're doing. Hang on, if I got my tool, we're doing this essentially.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I mean, minus the POI because Legion should be able to take that off of themselves.
Right. Okay. So it's
Yeah.
more like
Yes.
that, but Legion.
Whoever drew the blue line, you are correct.
Okay. I was gonna basically, because for some reason I still thought we were going this way first. My suggestion was we just do that. We're doing that the other way around, so it's fine. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter. Yep. I will lift that crap off.
Oh, and I forgot the last picture we have here is of. Stop it. Thank you. Yes, Irish Coffee. As you guys can see, it's another essentially urban complex, particularly as the civilian workers hab. Nobody's been able to identify any workers there. My guess is that they all got killed. If there's any surviving, they're likely tainted. If you are able to recover the enemy officer that resides in that location, however, I'm more or less writing him off right now, based upon the feeling for everybody. It seems quite apparent that we're just going to burn this entire portion of the city. Correction, portion of the world. Are there any last questions?
Done.
Yes, I have a question.
Yes.
Now that the first objective has been changed to Mojito from Mint to Julep, is there a plan to deal with an inevitable counterattack from Mint, Julep, and the surrounding areas while we're distracted with Mojito?
Combination of yeah. Go ahead.
Minefields work both ways. While there might be a counterattack planned by the enemy, it is still likely that it will be significantly reduced in its speed. Remember that these forces are not mechanized, they are very much so light infantry. As a result, their rate of march is very low, and it's more likely that airborne forces, or excuse me, aviation forces belonging to the Orbita Crusade will be able to identify hostile forces moving in any large number toward your fob or further north as a counterattack.
Additionally, the rear of the formation will be held up by the Titan and likely by the lance of knights that are traveling as well. Any force that's going to engage them will likely be detected by them before they actually get into a danger threat range of our forces. Finally, bear in mind that not but about a click away is Legion engaging another stronghold of theirs. Legion will be usually a better target for them to go after than the Orbita Crusade, or the actual main effort of the Orbita Crusade, who is nearly 3 to 4 kilometers away. However, in this scenario where they would attack us from the rear, both the Titan and the Knights will be able to deal with that fairly easily in any capacity that they attack us
This
in,
table is cool as hell.
if not just the Titan itself.
Also, additionally, on Legion's front, should we manage to clear out Refinery 031, should there be a request to provide Overwatch, the position at Refinery 031 has Hill 107, which overlooks the objective Mint Tulip. So, technically, Legion could leave behind a small squad to keep an eye on any sort of enemy movement.
Based upon orbital picks as well, Hilltop 75, where you see the blue marker right there, does have a fairly commanding line of sight on just about every avenue of approach that we would be operating in this entire op.
The Warriors bunker could have.
There's a bunker there, yes. There's a bunker there, yes. But since we're attacking that location, Objective Mojito first, any forces that we engage with should look to try to take both sides of the fatal funnel, so that it stops being a fatal funnel, essentially. Okay. Any last minute questions? Or any last questions, should I say?
We don't need the other 3 tables that I built.
Aww.
Well, actually, we could talk. So the whole reason why I have you guys here is so that we can actually talk about those objectives. Now that we've discussed the actual method through how we're going to be doing all this, can we go ahead and switch to Objective Mojito for it, please?
Mojito, that is that one.
Number 2.
There you go.
All right.
Holy
Ladies and gentlemen,
shit.
Objective Mojito. I took a map of everything, since the entirety of our forces will be somewhere located there. Colonel Owen, would you like to take us through the disposition and engagement of your forces?
Engagement of the forces would be down to the section's heads, as I have given them the freedom to choose how they would assault certain objectives. It was never planned on doing it. I was never planned on hitting first. My main objective would have been never going near this valley in the middle here. Plan was after taking first objective, move south, hitting Hill 173, taking the bunkers out with high altitude. High altitude missiles, while systematically bombarding this valley off to the side here, press and to discourage the enemy from moving up. Once we had taken a foothold and gone up to the top here, Ability would no doubt have marked where enemies are concentrating, and then we'd advance forward using the high ground as our advantage. We'd move down, attacking enemies around this valley and taking these out, moving into Refinery 1 Alpha. After taking the refinery and killing anyone that is left, we declare it. Wait for high command to declare it taken, and then we'd move west. Any emplacements that is marked on the map shall be destroyed. The enemy shall be killed. Finally, once we are done, we mark where the mines are. If AdMech has the time with their business schedule on this mission, we're out. That's the plan in a nutshell.
Colonel,
Okay.
what's the approach you were going to take? If you can draw it on map, just for awareness.
Great, yes, I forgot about that. So going here, and with our forces going into here. From previous sightings of the last mission, we found bunkers here, and rough here.
What's up, hi boy?
These
Yeah, they went
bunkers,
all
I
out on
believe,
this.
have
They
been
have
taken
like
out
maps of
because
the individual
enemy
objectives. This is nuts.
has reinforced them with new. With the emplacements, things we should be able to take them out with relative ease with air and artillery assets.
Colonel, if I may,
Go for it.
with the new situation of taking
Yeah, basically.
this objective first,
I'm like literally playing like, you know, little toy models.
from a northern approach, going to 173.
My god, he's quiet.
Lead us too exposed to the objective Badulak and the completed Civitas fire lines will be really exposed when trying to get to 173. I will suggest in this case starting from the FOB, doing a southwestern movement until getting close to the
He's like
Philips
serenading my left
so
ear.
long as our friend from
Oh, dear.
Aztec with Titans and Knights will be able to support us from any kind of attack from the southern flank from the orcs that are hiding there. Should we be able to get to this point over here, Belite will have more than ample enough time to visualize any kind of enemies on the main valleys, artillery, and soften the target for us. Should they be able to soften the targets, infantry can push through while being supported by Venator. With the other buildings destroyed and Belity having clear eyes of any kind of enemy reinforcement coming, infantry can do a slow sweep towards the tunnels, clear this out, and clear the eastern front so we can have easier reinforcements and reinserts onto the area. Legion will be able to, Legion, Admex and Titans will be able to contain the enemies from the south and watch any kind of enemy attacking from the north. Infantry will be able to sweep the tunnels and try to find any kind of intelligence or HPTs on the area that are hiding, and slowly move westwards. Take 173, regroup everybody, and push towards the refinery.
My problem with this plan is I do not want you stepping 1 foot into that valley. Step 1 foot in there, that is basically death.
That's why we'll be relying on Peritas being able to scout and the artillery being able to take down any kind of hard target inside the valley. But being what we have, we need to get inside that valley and get into those tunnels.
I'd rather you have cleared the valley first before going into those tunnels. I'd like to change it. You moving here, using the hillside here to attack.
I want to oppose that decision.
I might have some additional information that may assist you in this law flow. The roads going through the valley, this entire area, the roads are more or less in the center, and then the walls of the valley are about 3 to 4 lemans wide, so there's not a whole lot of room to move through the valley itself. Hills are quite tall, so being on top of them and looking down isn't really going to work for most of the areas here, unfortunately. The north section is probably the worst to go through, just because of how many bends there are and places for ambushes. This valley itself, should you try to go through on foot, I imagine they can probably cause you to waste a lot of time and buy extra time for their allies if you try to pursue this on foot.
My idea will still be trying to at least get to the Hill 157 and clear this eastern tunnel first. Let the northern part either to artillery strikes or if able to a small squad of statics to be able to reinforce us, because they will be able to survive the slug battle. Or at that point reposition the Titan or a Knight from the northern to help us do a push, but I would like to avoid being on the northern part of the hills as much as possible, because they will have easy direct lines of fire from the completed Civitas and maybe from the Mujalla, these other objectives towards us.
Do you have a drone controller though? Also, I think Lothlo's thinking with his thinking cap there. Good idea coming around the east side of it for avoiding blind or observation fields.
We
of fire
combine
from
both plans.
We have
Captain Lothlo, you have, if I'm not mistaken, a low count of 15 troopers who are at your disposal. That including with about 8 troopers from the Salamanders and possibly 3 troopers from the Shadows of Baal, makes you a total of almost 26. Did I do the math right? 25? So what if
have you used it with a drone controller?
You take a contingent and still take this northern portion. I can't ping. How do I ping?
Tab.
Yeah. Still take that portion.
Might be worth trying.
But also lead a separate contingent into the actual area of the funnel itself. Now, keep in mind, you are going to be heavily, heavily under fire as soon as you enter that area. Make no mistake. Indirect fires can do what they can, and we can likely have a constant barrage at the entry and exit points as you move through. This will require you to keep in very constant communication, so you may not be able to lead from the front as you usually want to.
So you usually need the Zeus to spawn it so it has a AI unit in it.
Because you're going to be the one that's going to have to call to tell them to stop shelling as soon as you start entering that area. Does that make sense?
Yes, Lord Primarch.
We'll basically try to use indirect fires to hold back the enemy as long as we can until you're able to reach more defensible areas within Factory 2A. That will also allow you to attack Factory 2B from the rear as well. While simultaneously the forces that are up on the southern portion of the cliffside can provide support by fire directly into the valley, just not as effectively as they want to. As you're moving through there, they may be able to move. Well, shit. My only concern is getting them off of this, off of the elevated area, and trying to either circle around to the other side, because that's still going to have to be taken one way or another.
I have a suggestion.
Go ahead.
If we can establish air dominance early on, due to how artillery works and the nature of plunging fire, I think it's going to be somewhat difficult to land accurate shots inside the valley itself. Artillery is probably better used to bombard the surrounding areas, such
Someone
as the hill.
finally brings this up.
Whereas
I
if
brought
we
this
have
up
something
earlier
like a
whenever they
Valkyrie with
were
rocket
originally
pods
talking about the
that
overall
could
map.
strafe the roads in the valley itself, I think that would work better.
Captain Firefly, it's your risk.
Given the fact that we will both have my own pilots providing cap and it sounds like some Legion pilots on cap, we could dedicate one of our pilots to basically load up with area of effect munitions and at the predetermined signal basically just lay waste to that valley. Anything that's not in a hardened bunker or heavy armor would have a bad day.
Are you able to see IR strobes from the sky?
IR strobes are iffy. We do have the capability to actually see laser designators with the new targeting pod system. Allows us to actually see where the laser is designated rather than just getting a vague
I don't know
you
what's
have
up
a
with his
laser
mic.
indication.
My question is referring to just seeing where friendly forces are operating at.
The only problem is the IR strobes will function on our IR sensors, which are night vision, and given the rapid change in light levels on this planet, that is an unreliable method.
Yeah.
We do have the Blue 4 trackers, and we can tend to keep pretty good track of where friendly forces are, so long as you don't have outliers moving away from their designated unit.
I believe the proper term pronunciation of that was collateral damage. So yeah, which, as we all know, Total War, in effect, there is no such thing as collateral damage. It's just damage. All right, so let's try it that way then. I think that might give us the best chance to actually navigate this particular, well, hellhole, really.
Now, what I may recommend is if friendly forces are in that valley and they suspect or start seeing an aircraft making attack runs, pop smoke on your position and call it out over 50 or 40.
What color smoke should they use for that?
Blue.
Blue smoke, or in an absolute dire circumstance, any color, and then just specify the color during the call.
Probably best to load up on blue and green smoke, since both are associated with blue 4 targets.
Yep, and I will have the pilot doing those attack runs. I will actually have them probably in direct communication with command elements, so they'll have a good awareness of where friendly forces are at the time. More likely than not, I will be taking personal command or personal responsibility of that duty.
Very well.
I would suggest probably also to carry green and blue flares. While telling a pilot popping a blue or popping a green flare and having to tell their gunner to turn off their night vision so they can spot the target is kind of risky. At the same time, it is more visible at night versus smoke.
Yes. Due to the amount of pilots we have, the direct combat is going to be provided by Thunderbolts or possibly Avengers, so solo pilots, but they have much better targeting pods, so unless you're running around with armor that looks suspiciously like Heretic, we can normally even PID.
Captain Firefly, Legion will have one-time Xiphon on standby to deal with heavy air targets that are out of your control, be probably Space Marine or CSM enemy aircraft. We will also have access to a Nephilim starfighter as a cast bird. So, should they need a sort of a cast strike assistance, we have a heavy burst gun.
Yes. We'll probably deploy an Avenger for the attack runs on the valleys. The combination of the rocket pods and the Avenger bolt cannon will lay waste to anything that is not heavily armored in that area.
Should I have Legionnaire get on your radios for the majority of the op?
We would like that very much. We prefer any air assets, any friendly air assets, to share the same net, so to ease communications between the different aircraft.
Understood. So I'll make sure that they are on your personal radio as well as the CAS radio for call-in from the infantry. But also, they'll have to continue having access to our personal radios in case we may need to pull them off their attack runs to assist us.
Acknowledged. If needed, they can just stick on the airnet, and if air is unable to, we can let them know to just move over to 40 in case CAS calls come in while we are preoccupied.
Understandable.
The fun of presets on the radio.
Colonel Owen and Captain Lothlow, be aware on the whirlwind that we are utilizing experimental missile strikes. And while having access to clusters, we also have access to singular direct impact super crack missiles that can be used for large area devastation. I believe they're also laser guided, but that's a hit and a miss situation since it is a missile. Indirect fired missile, should I say.
Understand. All right. So, I believe that solves at least the entry to this. I'm guessing that after you guys take the northern portion of the facility, you're going to then turn around and start attacking 1A and the remaining of the areas over here.
That's the plan, Lord Primarch.
Okay. All right.
Hopefully, Legion won't be held up too much, and will be. And by the time that they are moving on to Refinery 1A, Legion will be moving down this area. Vehicle is optional at this moment, but will be moving. But Legion should be, in a sense, moving down to provide kind of a. Why am I using a line tool? Provide a kind of protection from that angle, probably further up at Hill 125 and 114.
I look forward to it, but I'm not going to count on it. Very well. All right, so I believe that takes care of Mojito. Just so that we are all clear, let's go to the next portion, which is objective.
Irish coffee.
Thank you. Yes.
There you are.
Irish coffee is much like the rest of the objectives that you guys have been engaging in. It's a primarily urban complex with a kind of like a weird break in between the two actual clusters. In this particular sense, a standardized cordon and search or cordon and clear of the area in a zone sector style would probably work best. The big takeaway for this particular objective that I want you guys to understand is that I don't want us to stay in this location forever. If we are unable to make a lot of headway in a reasonable amount of time, I leave that to all the officers here in the channel. If you guys are feeling like it's not a reasonable amount of time, move on. Obliterate it. We'll clear it, we'll basically just sick the whirlwind and all the combined fires that we have and begin leveling it systematically. The big danger that's going to be residing in this area is the suspected Chaos Trader Astartes that are rumored to be in the area but are not confirmed. Unless the Inquisition tells me that they're absolutely confirmed in this area. Which
Only
I don't think they.
assessed.
Yeah. It's more or less what I thought. So, if you guys start finding Chaos Astartes and Legion has still not been freed up from their POI location, go ahead, make the call. Desolate the area. I would rather deny this to the enemy than have them begin to heavily attrit our forces in a battle that is not really worth its time. Is that understood? Okay. All right. A little bit backwards, but let's go over the big one today. Objective Minjulip. So, Objective Minjulip has is a, much like Bloody Mary from last week. It is 2 hab locations that are basically combined into one centralized objective. Your big task here, or excuse me, your big hurdle that anybody is going to have to overcome is the fact that you're technically attacking 2 objectives at once. Mint Julep is going to be under constant fire from Concretum. Fire on Concretum only if there is no other option, and if you can properly PID that it is not a location that would contain an HVT of any sort. Understand the primary objective of Concretum City for me and my intention is that I want all the intel that it can get me in preparation for the eventual assault and siege on Orbita Clivo Cadme. We do not have enough intel to attack Orbita as it is right now. If we were to go there, losses will be catastrophic. I know that you guys can easily level Concretum and gleefully would do so. That is not the intention here. So, I am giving you the rest of the planet. Sate your bloodlust on the rest of the planet. Save the strategy and tactics for Concretum if you have to. Mint Julep. Mint Julep is going to require finesse. What happened last week is you guys got yourselves into a situation where you could not get out. We are not going to do that with Mint Julep. I would rather burn the entire objective to the ground than have you guys try to be in a prolonged engagement and being attacked from all sides. This is the reason why we're attacking from this direction that we're doing right here, and it's also the reason why it's the last objective that you're attacking. I understand that we may be exhausted by the point that we get to this point. This is the point where you are going to need to find the inner fortitude to carry on. I recommend that I can't even pronounce that, Urgaroff, whatever. This fucking hab location over here.
Probably Urgroff, yeah.
Urgroff should be mainly attacked from the outside. Boots can enter once hardened fortifications have been eliminated, mainly like the bunkers and such. But we'll likely be able to see those bunkers from afar through gun cameras if we have to. If not, this particular operation will rely fairly heavily on Velité's ability to identify hardened targets from afar. It will require a lot of mad marker. So you guys are probably going to get your fingers really, really hurt from the fact that you're going to be doing that a lot.
Be advised that with this being the last objective, and it being towards the end of the op, depending on how things go with the previous objectives, you may or may not be low on drones at that point.
Oh, we did
Given this
refill you
position,
guys. Yeah.
in this position, we should be able to spot it with our own eyes. But spotting individual infantry is a problem. Bunkers and machinery should not be.
Okay. It's mostly the bunkers I'm concerned about. As it was assessed by the Inquisition, they're going to be looking to fight in an asymmetrical format, which means that they're going to be doing a lot of guerrilla warfare, hide and seek sort of stuff. Unironically, the same things that you guys do. So yeah. If it's identified, attack it. As I said before in the earlier portion of this brief, shoot first, ask questions later. Until we get to Concretum, that's going to be the ROE: shoot first and ask questions later. Does anybody have any concerns about Mint Julep? You're seeing it as close up as I can give you guys.
No, I have a question about Mint Julep.
Yes.
While we're trying to avoid a direct engagement with Concretum, there is a smaller city to the north of Mint Julep, and there are fortifications in the middle of that river.
Yes.
Those free fire, or are we trying to avoid
Absolutely.
those as well?
Free fire. Do not care about them. Concretum City is the only thing that is tight weapons. Everything else is absolutely free for all.
If I remember correctly, the towns are called East and West Astinia. Where
Yes.
And in West Astinia, there is an outpost. There's a small little fortification there, so there might be AA or Artie in that location.
It was cut off on this map, but yes, that is what is there. There is a entrenched enemy force in that area. I can already confirm it. Okay.
That can be
Are there any?
That could be shelled during Legion's approach. If we have observation of it, we could call in personal strikes on that area just to soften it up.
If you take fire from that location, it's weapons free. Do whatever you need to do in order to continue with the mission. The only place that is not weapons free is Concretum City, and that is just because what resides there.
Understood. Is that to also avoid in case there's turrets on top of the rooftops? Legion can do precision strikes and deal with those turrets, but if not, then we will not engage at all and deem the area as a no-go, no-fire zone.
Excuse me. Yes. So, as it was formally dictated on the map, there is a limit of advance. I don't want you guys going past that limit. However, if you receive fire from that location, you absolutely may fire back.
Got it. Hold fire until fired upon. Got it.
For anything outside of the operational area, yes.
Understood.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Very well. Then you are all dismissed. We'll see you all tomorrow. Ave Imperator.
Ave Imperator.
Well, thank you guys very much for watching. That should be a pretty good briefing on the upcoming operation. This will be tomorrow at 1700 Eastern Standard Time in order to actually, facilitate this. Hopefully everything runs well. Hope to see you guys there. Thank you very much again for watching. Goodbye.